Hi, I'm Ems, aka I'm Dagon Wings, and in this video I will be creating a Fallout themed winter globe. Please do like and subscribe. So I have this globe here, it's from Hobbycraft here in the UK. You can get other shapes and sizes when it comes to these glass containers, and you can make loads of cool like dioramas, vignettes in them. So this is obviously going to be Fallout themed, and I've printed out a load of cool pieces. Some of these are official Fallout files. I'll put the link in the description below where you can get these. And there's a bunch of cool other things I've printed. Some of these are custom files which fans have made, so we have a load of little critters. And these are from a guy called Jedi Rob, or Rob Jedi, and I'll put the link in the description below where you can find him. He does a lot of cool custom Fallout stuff for free on Thingiverse. And then I have a bunch of random other things like some barrels, some rocks, and this dead tree. I've just been kind of winging it with the size of this. Luckily, everything looks like it will fit into the center of this. So it's going to be the tree and all the little critters and things around it, and the Nuka-Cola bottles are going to go on top. What I've done here, I've added some clay, and then what you can do is you can create texture with a rolled up ball of tinfoil. And as you can see here, it's created texture without using any texture paste. This is a good way of doing it without using any of that texture paste, or if you want to create a big base or terrain, and this is what it looks like once I've glued everything down. And as you can see, the lid fits on top. And now I've glued down some of the creatures and the other bits, just arranged them, and it looks pretty cool so far. It looks like a little cool little vignette. And then I've primed it all in black. And then I've added some dark brown chocolate paint from AK Interactive over the tree. I'm going to be dry brushing over the top of the tree, so I've got buff from AK Interactive and this pale flesh colour from Two Thin Coats, and I'm going to be dabbing this on. I've created my own texture tool. It's a propeller pencil with a bit of sponge on the end, though that's definitely not a dig at a certain creator. I can create some more natural looking texture this way since it's a sponge. And then I'm just dabbing this all over on parts where it would look lighter, perhaps. You can create your own tool as well if you get the lid off a brush, and then if you put a bit of sponge in that as well. That's another really great way of creating like a sponge texture brush without spending too much money or backing failed Kickstarters. It's not another dig, honest. Anyway. You can ignore the base part because I changed that later on, so I've not done that process. And the rocks, I've pretty much just done the same as the tree. I started off with a dark grey, and then I've dry brushed all over the top with that sponge some lighter grey colours. And now I've just got some Wildwood contrast paint thinned down. I really like this. Instead of using an Agrax wash, I found it a lot richer and a lot deeper colour. And then I've got dark grey from AK Interactive. I'm thinning this down. You can make your own washes quite easily, just add a bunch of water or add some Lamium Medium, and then I'm just putting this over the rock as well. I'm not too concerned about neatness, I'm just kind of going for this and enjoying the process. And I kind of wanted that more artsy kind of rough look to it since it's Fallout. And since I use that sponge technique of the rock as well, it has more like a natural texture look to it, rather than me just dry brushing it and being a little bit more careful. I want that texture, I want those marks showing through. I have skipped ahead some of the process here, it's just because it would be boring to show you. I basically just use like a basic paint on the critters, and then I've used a wash over the top of them. Now I wanted to move on to something a bit more technical, and that's painting really small details and features. So it does help if you have the right tools, so the right brushes. The Artist Opus small Series M brushes are some of my favourite to work with. You don't necessarily have to use this, a lot of art is into personal taste. Winsor & Newton Series 7 do some really nice ones as well. So this is the 000, I think. If you notice how the points are on smaller brushes, they tend to have like a fatter body and then like a big point at the end of them. So it's more like a triangle shape like this. So it makes it easier to work with, the bristles don't splay out. You can just make your own small brushes if you want to, detail brushes, so you can just get an ordinary smaller brush, a cheaper one, and you can cut it down with some scissors or a craft knife. But try and cut it into like a triangular point. So I wanted to go through the process of painting small areas. So generally when we're painting, we like to do it in thin small layers so we don't have any debris or build up. So usually, small layers, you add quite a bit of water to it. But the problem is, the more liquid we add to a paint, the harder it is to control. So when we're working on small details, it's better to have less liquid on your paint, and then you don't want too much paint on your brush. So you want it more of like a thicker consistency, but still not too thick and chalky. And you don't want to put the paint straight on your miniature. It's good to kind of practice, so if you're wearing gloves or on your nail, or you can even practice on a piece of card or some spare miniatures. Get used to getting that flow and consistency right. So just a little bit of water or medium added to your paint, and then brush a bit of the excess off. And you don't want to put the paint straight on with a straight position with your brush. You want to kind of use the side of your brush, otherwise the bristles will splay out and you'll have less control. So it's better to approach it from the sides if you can. And also it's just about practice and trying to move your hand around and move the miniature around to get the better angles and best angles that you can. It's all just about practice, and like I said, you can practice on the back of your hand or on a piece of card as well to get that process down. Another thing I find that helps me out a lot when it comes to painting small details is flow aid additive. It's not the same as a normal flow aid like Lamy and Medium. It makes the paint flow of your brush easier, so it's less claggy. So usually when you've only got a small bit of paint on your brush, when you're painting small details, it's very hard to get it off sometimes. So here I've just got a tiny bit of flow aid medium, a little bit of paint, and I'm just doing it from the side of my brush. And as you can see, I can kind of do that little dot of his eye. These tiny Nuka-Cola bottles I 3D printed are super detailed. They have like a raised area for the Nuka-Cola symbol. And as you can see, flow aid additive, it makes it just come off your brush that much easier. And I can sort of do the symbol. Usually do these a lot better, but obviously it's harder to do when you're doing it on camera and it's not up close in my face. So what I'm doing now is I completely changed what I wanted to do with the base. I added some like goblin green from 2 thin coats, and I'm just putting this all over the bottom of the base. I'm then just adding some Incubi Darkness from Citadel, and I'm just adding some shadows to those like radioactive green areas. This vignette looks very highly saturated and cartoony, which I think is pretty cool. And then I have this water texture from Vallejo. I did buy this recently, I've had this quite a while. It's not my favourite thing to use. It's not the best, it does take a long time to dry. I wouldn't personally recommend it, it's not my personal favourite thing to use. I would rather use resin, so 2-part epoxy resin or that jewellery casting resin. It's a lot cheaper and it sets a lot quicker, and I think it's a lot nicer to work with. So that stuff does take a while to dry. So I've added some snow details. I don't currently have any snow texture, so I've made my own. I've just got this really cheap, nasty stuff, which you get from like a craft store, and then I've added some PVA glue. This is the clear stuff with a bit of water, and it's made this like snow slutchy stuff. It looks kind of okay for what I'm going for, and then I just kind of added that all over the base. So if you want to work on the cheap, that's a good way to do snow effects. This is the model pretty much completed now. I think it looks really cool. It's what I set out to do, and I really like the positions of everything. It is very intense and there's a lot to look at, but that's the fun of it. It's very cartoony and comic book looking. I hope this has given you some inspiration for creating your own vignettes or putting them in some glass jars, etc. And then I've put the lid on top of it. I think this would be cool in the future to seal and maybe put some more snow inside so you can shake it up. But for now, I really like how it looks. And then I've just taken some pictures of this as well so you can see it in better detail. I think it looks really cool. You can definitely tell it's Fallout with the Nuka-Cola bottles and then the little creatures and the radioactive waste as well. If you want to support me, I've got Patreon and I've got social media, etc. I'll put all the links in the description below. Thanks for watching. Remember to enjoy your hobby for yourself, and in the end of the day, these are just Wardollies. I'll see you in the next one.